Welcome to B&B Studios, the home of Central Coast Rugby. Let's get stuck into another week of opinions and oversights from Berner and Barthy as they bring us the latest news. Good chat, good footy, good fun. Take it away, boys.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the B&B Unplugging Central Coast Rugby podcast. A bit of a different episode this week. We've got to be honest, this date has crept up a lot earlier. Or it's crept up on us, actually. It's a lot earlier than we thought, but we did have to get B&B Studios sprayed for white ants. So we have to do a bit of a different episode in that this is done remotely. So Barthy is joining us via telephone line. Barthy, how are you going?
Mate, I'm going good, thank you, Berner. Quite surprised it's taken this long for someone to white ant us, but I guess we knew that was going to happen.
Well, we knew it was going to happen, and we've been white anted.
Yeah. So, mate, I pulled out the tin can and the big long line of string, and so here we are.
The show must go on. It's a big episode this week. We had a huge weekend on the weekend. First finals round and awesome day of rugby. Some cracking games and close games as well, which is obviously what you want with finals. So we're looking to get into them. How was your Saturday, mate?
Mate, my Saturday was great. Loved it. Geez, I tell you what, we're a little bit scratchy on the commentary, weren't we? But it was good fun nonetheless. We said goodbye to a couple of teams, which was disappointing and sad. But you know what, Berner? Let's get into it.
All right, results from the weekend. So finals week one, the minors semi-final. Starting off with President's Cup, the Lakes defeated Terrigal Blue 11 points to 9. Premier 2, Terrigal defeated Warnervale 9-6, 3 penalty goals to 2, riveting game. And then on to the women's 10s. Barthy, Hornsby defeated the Lakes 26 points to 12. No duples, tries to Mel Dayhue, Rebecca Rogers, Callie Morris, Annabelle Rogers, and Lakes 2 tries scored by Lada Kafer and Heather Duffy. How'd you see the game, mate?
Mate, I thought the Lakes women were competitive. I'm not overly sure that either team will be, I guess, happy with the performance. There's a few errors, and the game never quite got out of sort of second gear. Some pretty ordinary conditions of the wind squalling and the rain coming down, but the girls absolutely gave their best. There was no doubt about it, and that's what was kept the entertainment up in the match. They were dead set giving it their all. And just a quick shout out, Kaylee Morris was brilliant. Charlie Campbell from the Lakes, she had a cracker of a match. Yeah, and the girls did really well. And a big congratulations to the Lakes women. They've had an outstanding season. I think their first full season in the competition, and they made the semi-final. So it's nothing to be scoffed at. So a great day for the Lakes club and the Lakes women. They should be very proud of themselves. And I reckon the Hornsby women will be looking for a better performance for whoever they meet in a week, 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think they will need that actually. But Charlie Campbell, it's back onto her. She tried everything to sort of get her team over the line. I think Lakes, commentating on the day, just sort of, we mentioned it so many times that Lakes were able to really draw Hornsby in, but they then weren't able to go wide with the ball, and that's what they really needed to do. And to Hornsby's credit, every time Lakes tried to get Charlie Campbell in a bit of space, they would put someone like Callie Morris onto her that could take her down, either chasing her down or has the strength to actually pull her down. So, she was an absolute weapon on that day. But congratulations to Hornsby. So they got the week off this week. They will watch the Terrigal Avoca game, and they will play the loser of that in the preliminary final.
Yeah, and one thing that I think needs to be, I guess, highlighted too, certainly from my own personal perspective. Hornsby did it without, I would say, probably 60% of the match without their inspirational leader and captain in Ange Mirando. Yeah. She spent quite a bit of time on the sidelines. I'm not sure why, whether she's nursing or coming back from that injury or that shoulder injury she sustained halfway through the season, playing up a little bit. But she's an absolutely pivotal part to that team. And for the Hornsby side to sort of continue on sort of with her input being minimal, I think it shows what a great performance it was from them. From a whole team perspective, might have been overly pretty to watch, but certainly from a gut, grit and determination point of view, it was a good showing from them.
All right, well, on to Premier 1, the elimination final. So this is 5th versus 4th. We had the Razorbacks playing the Lakes. Lakes got off to a quick start. They scored the first try, and then the Razorbacks really from then on out just slowly turned the screws in over time and were able to rack up 37 points against the Lakes. And personally, it was a game that the Lakes, they had a chance, they had multiple chances to really to put on some points, but they did the hard work of getting down the other end and getting themselves in the Razorbacks 22 or just outside the Razorbacks 22, and then there'll be something stupid like a chip kick to be easily marked in the 22, or just pushing the pass that goes to ground. And Razorbacks are a quality team, and they know they can get that ball and they can turn you down, put you down the other end of the field, or they can grind you up the field. So, I think there's a lot of missed opportunities for Lakes, and that was, I suppose, the sad part of it, because it was quite frustrating to watch from their perspective of all their forwards, especially Sean Enlazark was
he had a whale of a game, didn't he?
Oh, he was so good, and with just the work rate that sort of he got through. But then you had Logan. I thought Logan was massive for his side. 2 tries, 2 conversions, and what he brought was just, there was this element of calm, and you could see that he was the person that the Razorbacks were getting frustrated with, where they were trying to bait him, and he was, was starting everything. He was obviously the focus of what they were doing, and he handled it so well. But despite his efforts, it just was, he was doing everything he could to basically get his team over the line. But it just wasn't the day for him.
I thought both of Mopo boys were outstanding, along with Van Lazark. I thought they were clearly the best 3 on the paddock for the Lakes. But those silly kicks with inside the 22, you mentioned, Bernard. I think there was 3 or 4 of them. And
even
the old saying,
trying to get field position. There was a couple of kicks trying to get field position, and they you're 30 meters out. You don't need you've got it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And you got the backline to light it up.
The old adage of some days it's rock, some days it's diamond. Everything was a rock for Lakes. Unfortunately, there was the old when the sticks pass, they're impressive and they're super exciting and dynamic to watch. But unfortunately for the Lakes, 99% of their passes didn't stick, and lots of rocks were thrown out there, which is sad, because I guess they would have hoped for a little bit of performance, but it wasn't to be, and it was a big congratulations to the Razorbacks, because they very much put the Lakes under that pressure and had forced those passes continually from them. So I think I think we've got to be careful not to shortchange the Razorbacks and what an outstanding performance it was from them.
Yeah, I think they were unreal. And just one more thing on the Lakes that give them credit for is their scrum. I thought their scrum would get dominated, not in the early stages, but towards the back end of the game. And not only that, but they lost Zach McGuinness as well. And when they lost him, I thought, well, here go the Razorbacks. They've got such a quality forward pack, and their set piece is unreal. And I thought that would be the time when their set, Razorbacks would really show a lot of dominance. And Lakes were able to hold them off. But I think it was around the other areas that Razorbacks were just too good, and just pouncing on that loose ball. We saw Corbin Walters, as soon as he came on the field, basically was pinched the ball out of Max Mackerel in his hands and ran away with it and outgunned him. So, they're just accruing points slowly, Razorbacks, and just too much class in the end. The People's 13 turned into the People's 9. He gave the people what they wanted as well by the end of it, a showing in both positions, a masterclass of both positions.
Congratulations, Razorbacks. It was a big congratulations to the Razorbacks. They've done well. They've done extremely well, and a big congratulations to the Lakes for that matter too. We touched about it on the podcast before, and we touched about it during the commentary. Mate, for a club that only got maybe a handful of training sessions on their training field because of the rain and weather, and people can't say, oh, we've all been called off. No one has had to put up with, maybe the Gossip Red Devils who finished stone over the last, but no one had to put up with what the Lakes had to. And so I think it's further testament to what a good club and culture that they've got happening over there at the moment under Marshall Amopo's guidance and leadership. But unfortunately, that's it for them for 2022.
All right, on to the qualifying final. Avoca Beach defeated Carrierong 30 points to 14. We had a couple of people write in after the end of the first half who were listening on the commentary and just weren't quite sure how much you hated the first half. In sarcasm.
Just me.
Just you, yeah. Just wasn't sure how much you hated it.
I'm here to tell you, and if you weren't listening to the commentary, I called it an absolute bludger of a first half.
and it was.
Yeah, I was going to say it. And I'm happy to listen to anyone's arguments to say that it was an entertaining game of rugby, but it was a bludger of a first half, and the 60 minutes that followed were substantially more entertaining than the first 40. And to give you an idea, Avoca Beach scored more points in the 20 minutes of extra time than they did in the 80 minutes beforehand. So,
I think it was
look, semi-finals. Sorry, mate. Semi-finals semi-finals does that, and what are normally, expensive playing rugby sides very much get stifled through, I guess, through the pressure and of semi-final rugby, and we saw that. We saw two highly entertaining rugby teams just kind of cancel themselves out in that first half, and that it was almost like in the first half both teams were playing not to make mistakes, not actually playing to win the game. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think Mitch McGrath was massive for the Avoca Beach side, but just throughout the game, that the first half was obviously dour. There was that many knock-ons and penalties, and just it was really stop-start, and you couldn't get two teams that like to play. They just couldn't get going at all. And Jake Hubbard, a massive weapon for the Carrong side, was barely even noted in the first half. Just no one could really do anything, or if there was a chance of something, it was just, as you said, just cancelling each other out. Got to the second half was obviously a bit better, but teams changed their hand a little bit more, but the balls were sticking. The plays that they've trying to execute are actually sticking, and ended the game at 14 points all. Massive kick for Scott Hanley to actually so down 14-7, score the try, and then actually have to get the conversion to tie the game to send it in extra time. That was a big pressure kick, and not an easy one either. It was a difficult kick, wasn't it, really? Yeah, and it's one of those ones that you probably should get. It wasn't exactly fully from the sideline, but a really difficult one, especially considering the circumstances. Is you needed that kick, and that got him through to extra time. And then in extra time, it was just Voca that dominated. But there was. Well,
sorry, mate. I was going to say I can't remember when exactly it happened in the game, but the passage of play where Avoca Beach had two players in the sin bin at one point.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was getting to.
Yeah, fifth soul. Sorry to see you, Thunder Pal.
No worries, mate. You take it. You probably tell the story better.
The sound through the tin can is not. It's a bit slow coming through the stream. But mate, as funny as it sounds, I thought it was actually the making of the Avoca Beach side when they were playing with two men down. They scored 3 points to carry on with nil, and that's where, mate, I can't give big enough accolades and raps for Mitch McGrath. His leadership and guidance during that period of time when they had 13 players off. In my own personal opinion, he's the reason Avoca Beach won that extra time period, and because of just how well he guided that side and controlled and dictated the pace of the game. And as a result, I think he scored a try too. I think we might have awarded the C on Henderson Foley because of how dour and dark the bloody lights were. We couldn't quite see who got it, so we gave it to Henderson Foley just on how well he'd been playing.
We gave it to a forward, didn't we? We couldn't tell who it was, so we just thought we'll give it to a forward, and then we obviously awarded it to Theon. But luckily for Mitch, we don't have anything to do with who awards the tries. But on air, definitely Theon. He
was. I thought Mitch McGrath and Theon Henderson Foley were outstanding for the Avoca Beach side.
When they had the two in the bin, I think it was a drop ball by Carrong. We made the comment and said that Carrong really need to stop putting pressure on themselves here, because out of any side you don't want to be two men down to, it's the Carrong. And not only two men down, they had their who was so they had their 15. They had their 15 on their inside centre off. So you got your two backs out, two key backs, might I add, against the Carrong back line. That's seeing red. That's the game lost. That should have been the game lost, I believe, for them. And then you have Mitch McGrath, who just fully takes controls the game, and also snaps a box kick field goal. Snaps a field goal from the scrum base.
That was amazing.
It's that was unreal. And I think that set the platform for them to go. And I think Carrong, as much as they try to sort of really get back into it, and they got themselves to extra time, but I think that extra time period, cracker of a game, but Avoca just scraped, did too much in that extra time period. And
Avoca scored 30, I think it was 16 points.
16 points,
20 minutes. 16 points in the 20 minutes of extra time.
And we had Brad Mitchell, Bunce from Avoca wrote in, and he just said there was a scrum towards the end of the game where the forward packs were actually saying to each other, no matter what, this has been a great game of footy. So that's awesome on the field to have, and it would be pretty good playing in the daytime. You get to the point where you're now playing under lights, and we'll touch on the lights later, or the lack of lights, but playing underneath those lights, and just both teams just absolutely rat shit, just going, we're trying to pull this home for each of our clubs. So, and that's an awesome thing to be a part of, and that's one of the games. There's a lot of games you play in your career. That's one of the games that you'll remember, and you'll tell people that game is one of those stories for the future, which is awesome.
Well, Carry On will play Razorbacks next week, Burner, and the Avoca Beach side will go on to play the Terrigal Trojans for the right to get into the grand final. One thing I'd be pretty confident in saying, the longer the extra time went and the more they continued to bash each other around, was I think Terrigal Trojans were cheering on both sides. They didn't care who was going to win. They just wanted both to keep playing each other for longer and belting each other more.
100%. Well, let's get into what games we got coming up this weekend. It's going to be a bit of a battle of the beaches this weekend. It's going to be good. All right, well, this weekend, the 10th of September, Saturday, Woy Oval, kicking off at 10:10. We have the major semi-finals. Avoca host. What am I saying host for, Barthy? I don't know. They're hosting Terrigal White at Woy Oval.
Avoca Beach, minor premier, so that's why they're hosting, because they're the first team in the major semi-final.
That's exactly right. Premier 2.
Woy also the second home of Avoca Beach.
Well, it is. That. Well, we know that. Premier 2, the Lakes are hosting Avoca Beach. So second game for Avoca there, for the exact same reason. And then 1:20 is when our shift starts. The women's 10s, mate. This is the cracker. Terrigal host Avoca. Terrigal first place, Avoca second place in the women's comp. They've been the two best teams clearly all year, and they finally get to go up against each other. They've been the two powerhouses for the last couple of years in this competition as well. Had some amazing battles, including that one in the grand final a couple of years ago at Central Coast Stadium. So, mate, how do you see this one going?
Mate, I see it as another chapter in what has been an absolutely sensational rivalry and really entertaining rugby. Every game we've seen over the last, let's just say, 3 years, they've been epic. They've been exciting. It's been end-to-end. The women have just played it rough, tough, and skillful. And I think we're going to see more of the same on Saturday. I think they're two sides that won't be held back and hinged down a little bit by the pressure of semi-finals rugby. I think both women will be out there to make a statement, and I think they both will. I see this as probably close to the best game of the day. I really do. I think it's going to be. I think it's. I'm leaning towards the Avoca Beach side because just of their record is just so strong against the Terrigal Trojan women. But having said that too, the Trojan women are clearly the best competition team in the competition. If that makes sense, they've just dominated everything except the Avoca Beach side.
So this could be the showing this weekend. This could be the time to as much as they can, they don't want to try and face Avoca. Obviously, no, they don't want to face each other in the grand final. But it's going to be a cracker of a match. So, are you going with Avoca? Are you,
mate? I'm actually going into my draw right now, and I picked out a coin. I've got a 50-cent coin. It is that's a 2020 coin.
I wouldn't put it past you to have a coin with a shark on one side and a Trojan on the other side.
Well, it's a 50-cent coin, mate. So it's got it's got an old coin on one side and the coat of arms on the other. Here we go, mate. I'm just flipping it now. Oops, I've dropped it. As you can hear it in the audio, it's come up tails. Tails is the Trojans, and the Trojans are who I'm selecting this week.
The Trojans. I'm backing Avoca in this weekend.
Yes, fair enough too.
I'll be honest with you, whoever you're picking, I was going to go the opposite. So, but I there's part of me that I still think Terrigal are the premier team, so part of me wants to back Avoca as the slight underdogs here, but they've also had the wood over them this year, win their last game anyway. So,
can I vote for an extra time match, a draw after at full time? You
can do that. Is that what you're going for?
I think it'll be an absolute cracking match. I've said it. It's a broken record, I know, but I'm going to stick strong with the Terrigal Trojan women. Not confidently, but just because of how good the Avoca Beach women are when they play against Terrigal. Yep. And personally speaking, if I'm involved with the Avoca Beach women's side, I'm gunning for a victory against the Trojans pretty damn hard because I wouldn't want to be playing Hornsby if I'm the Avoca Beach coach. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%.
And I think the Terrigal Trojan women will be confident even if they lose this match because they've had Hornsby's number, and I think that they'll be extremely confident on putting getting past Hornsby and getting back up into the grand final. But Avoca, on the other hand, they've been beaten, and Hornsby have kind of had their number for the last couple of seasons. So Terrigal Trojans for me, but mate, I can completely agree with your tip too.
Yeah. It's got exactly what you said. It's another chapter in a great rivalry. That is exactly, It's perfect for that. So that will be at 120. 2:15, Premier 1, we have an elimination match between Carryong and the Razorbacks. Mate, this is going to be, we're going to say goodbye to either Carryong or the Razorbacks this weekend. It's going to be upsetting. How do you see this one going?
Well, how much damage did that massive extra time game against the Avoca Beach side, how much damage has that done to the Carryong Wanderers? We're going to find out probably from 60 minutes onwards this Saturday when they meet the Razorbacks. So I think the Razorbacks will control and dictate the tone of the match, and I don't think that's going to help Carryong. I think Carryong need to get out of the blocks early, and I think you saw when they played against Avoca last week, sort of being hinged in a little bit didn't advantage their play and their outside backs. You could see when on the rare occasions they got the ball, they were making meterage and they were getting good yards, but there wasn't enough of it. So I think Carryong, the Razorbacks watching that match will go to school on that and starve Carryong of a lot of territory and possession. Also, it's a really good game. I think Carryong should win the match.
Yeah,
but do you tip on potential or do you tip on performance?
I think Carryong will learn a lot from last weekend. I think there's a lot of opportunities there, and you could see how frustrated they were on the field as well, that things just weren't going their way. And it wasn't through lack of effort, because their back, Kane Williams at 13, tried so hard and had so many breaks where it's just like they just bringing him down. He's just hitting the line so hard and they're just holding on. So there was so many of those moments, and credit to Avoca's defense, so many of those moments that usually would lead to a line break. And once they have a line break, they're pretty good at converting them. So I think Carryong for me this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think we made enough. I don't think we made enough of the battle of the 15s during that match. During the Avoca Beach and Carryong match, we should have touched on that a little bit more. And thinking of that, when you've got the Peruke boys out in the wings, Kane Williams and then Jake Hubbard, I think there's just far too much X factor in the Carryong Wanderers back line. And I don't know if I don't know if the Razorback sides have the answers like the Avoca Beach side did. So I'm tipping the Carryong Wanderers to take out the Razorbacks.
I'll tell you who is a key figure that I don't think gets talked about enough in that Carryong team is Nick Outram, and the work that he does in the line out single-handedly to easily win his own team's ball, but also win the opposition team's ball. And he is someone that the Razorbacks need to look out for, because he jumps in, he's got the height on him. And his lifters do a great job to get him up there and get him up there fast. And he's got a head on him in that he knows where to jump. He's able to look at the opposition and say, "Here's probably the person." He reads the line
as well.
Yeah, he reads them well, and it's easy for him to pinch opposition ball. And I think the Razorbacks have to be really wary of him this weekend. But if they can shut him down and they can play as a team in the line out and really nullify him, I think that will go a long way. If they can, I suppose, stop the flow of possession for Carryong and really frustrate them, which the Razorbacks are known for doing. I think that's their chance of getting him. But if they allow, I think Carryong's backline has it over the Razorback backline. I think that their backline is just so dangerous. And, Avoca, as I said before, Avoca did amazing to nullify them on the weekend, but they can't let that backline keep getting ball. It can't be that thing where they were so good at going Hanley to McGlynn to Mitch Clay, and then Mitch Clay can just basically has option of hitting Kane Williams, hitting one of the Perukes, or actually hitting Jake Hubbard. So they can't allow that, and I think Nick Outram is a huge factor there. They've really got to shut him down, and he was outstanding on the weekend.
Well, during commentary, I think we both gave him. I thought we both mentioned that he was clearly the best player in the Carryong Wanderers outfit on that in that match. Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. He's a pitiful, such an important forward in that.
Pivotal. Were you going for pivotal? Pivotal was the word.
Yeah, I think I might have even said pitiful, but that wasn't. That's not the case. He was outstanding, and he is the key man for the Carryong Wanderers, in my opinion, because a lot of those opportunities that they get for their backline come from him and his line out, as we've discussed. But he also gets around the paddock, and his work around the paddock is fantastic. So he's one of the key players for mine, and a reason why I'm tipping the Carrying Wanderers.
I think also the Razorbacks, which surprised me on the weekend, they wanted to go quick a lot of the time. Their lineouts were most of the time. The Lakes weren't even set with players at the lineout before Razorbacks were jumping. So that's another thing where Razorbacks were able to secure their ball so easy because they had 2 or 3 guys or they just get a jumper, the hooker and a lifter and just go, let's go. And they just secured the ball at 2, got it out, and Lakes were still sort of looking around. So I think the back line probably wasn't set to really capitalise on it, but every time their ball went out, they were able to win the ball back really quick, and I don't know if they'll be afforded that luxury on the weekend.
Who are you tipping?
I'm tipping Carryong. I think Carryong this weekend for me.
Me too.
All right, Premier 1, 420, the Battle of the Beaches. It's on again. Terrigal versus Avoca, and the winner goes straight through to the grand final. Who are you tipping?
I'm tipping the Terrigal Trojans here for a variety of reasons. They're getting a few players back from injury, suspension, and all that sort of stuff. And they are growing in strength as a Premier 1 side, just in regards to the players coming back. Also, taking into consideration the absolute slog that the Avoca Beach side went through to get rid of the Carrying Wanderers and to win last week, I think will play its toll. But I think it'll be another great game. But I see Terrigal's fitness and just their strength being a fairly major factor in regards to controlling the match, dictating the speed of the game. I think, your predictables, Adam Dankert, Cornish, and a variety of... There's so many players in the Terrigal side that have the ability to control and dictate a game. I think that's probably one of the greatest strengths they have over the Avoca Beach side. We spoke about how clearly Mitch McGrath was the key man in dictating and dominating the passages of play and the speed of play. Terrigal will have 2 or 3 players that can do that. I'm not sure the Avoca Beach side do. And I think they're also going to be fairly fatigued from that big slog last weekend. So the Terrigal Trojans are my pick.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm also... The only thing that would get me to go on Avoca was just getting up for the occasion. But I think I backed them in twice now when they're up against Terrigal. And the last time was when I went in to watch them when they hosted Terrigal at Hazlitt. And Terrigal had a couple out and they had their chances, but they just couldn't capitalise on everything. And I think Terrigal is so good at, if you take a chance, you take a swing and you don't hit, then they just boot you back downfield. I just think that their Terrigal is going to be too strong. They're going to be fresh. And as you said, Avoca's forward pack, that was a tough slog on the weekend. When Jack McPhee came off the field, I think in the 70th minute or around there, he was just rat shit. And then he had to go back on, obviously, for extra time, and they needed him back on there for extra time as well. I think that they would be hammered from that. There'll be a lot of sore bodies today. And, obviously they'll recover in time, but that takes a lot out of you up against a fresh Terrigal team who are, on cloud 9 after a win at home last week or 2 weeks ago. They've had the week off watching that game and they'll be ready to go. So, and, obviously, as we know in finals time, they're prime. So, Terrigal for me, I think, mate, as well.
Should be a great game. Get yourselves out there, everybody.
So
Wally Oval for what would be a great day. Or subscribe to Clutch TV and listen to us dribblers do our best with the commentary. Exactly.
Clutch TV, if you aren't on board with it yet, you can jump on. I think from memory, it's an app that you can get onto your phone. I think it's $4.99 for a day pass, but you can get a month pass for, I think it's $9 or something like that, or $8.99. So jump on that if you don't want to get to a game and you want to listen to us. So it's pretty good vision compared to, I suppose, stuff we've sort of done in the past, which is sort of the one camera angle. So it's not too bad.
Clutch TV. They're certainly getting a lot better in the product they're putting out there. I'll be honest, I've been a little bit critical of what they have put out in the past. But certainly working with them last weekend and the effort the cameraman was doing last weekend, zooming in on the scrums and looking at key parts and passages of the play, it's substantially better product than what it was, say, at the start of the season, that's for sure.
I've heard people say that too much of anything is not good for you, baby.
Well, Barthy, bit of a different Barry White this weekend or this week. You can't hear a single thing that Barry is saying right now, apparently. So I'll turn him off anyway. The viewers could hear anyway.
All I want to know is that he can't get enough of my love, baby.
He can't get enough of your love. Well, that's what he's trying to say to you. That's what he's trying to say. Yeah, but Barry's back. Love's back. We're back again.
Yeah!
Who are we loving this week, Barthy? Who are you loving?
Oh, mate, we're loving a whole variety of people, I think.
I think there's a lot of love this week that's come through, actually.
Yeah, I just want to... we might take a bit of turns, actually, get you involved with a bit of love. I'm going to chuck a bit of love out to Chris Smith, Smithy from the raceback side. He got in contact with us and just wanted to pass on appreciation of what the podcasts are doing, but more importantly, what the whole Central Coast Rugby community has done with the raising of funds for him and for Kingy, who got injured, and the fundraisers they had. He just sent through some love and appreciation for everyone involved, and that was lovely to hear. And I think he also wanted to just express the fact that he enjoyed calling me Burner at one point in time, which I politely smiled and laughed and pretended I enjoyed it. But I think both he and I knew that I didn't enjoy it one bit. So
well, he knows how to get he knows how to get under your skin.
No, he's a good man, Smithy. Really good fellow, and
great bloke.
And glad that the Central Coast Rugby community can do its little bit and its share to help him get back on his feet, considering what he's done for the community and the game on the Central Coast. So good on you, Smithy. You're a good man, and we'll catch up with you on a Saturday.
Mate, mine is for a couple of Sharkies. First of all, Mitch McGrath and Mitch Briggs for constantly sending some things into the podcast over the last few weeks and just tagging us in some stuff, which has been awesome. But the main one I want to give a shout out is to Bunce, Brad Mitchell. Sending some kind words and just said, I think he was a bit wrong with saying that we bring a level of professionalism to the competition. I don't know if professionalism is the word I'd go for.
Clearly, delirious after the match.
Well,
can I get a HIA on Bunce, please?
You probably can get a well, he played his heart out, and it wouldn't actually surprise me if that was the case because he was awesome for them when he came on the field the other day. Yep. But I appreciate the love, Bunce. Thank you very much, and obviously everything that you do with letting us know about Emil as well. So Emil became the most capped first grader on the weekend with 232 games. So we don't know that information if it's not for someone like Bunce that sends it through, which is a massive achievement for Emil to have that. And mate, over to you. Who you got?
Yeah, mate, I'm going to throw out a bit of love to Kate Thompson. I know we do that a little bit regularly, but this is, for good reason too. She deserves it. She does a bloody good job as administration officer at Central Coast. But I want to give her a bit of love because I believe the New South Wales Rugby Union offered to send some commentators up to commentate over the semi-final series of the Central Coast Rugby Union competition, and considering that the Central Coast is the best country rugby union in New South Wales, they tried to schmooze their way in, and Kate Thompson rightly told them to get fucked. We've got Burner and Barthy, and they are our go-to on the Central Coast. So
they're the only words Kate could have used as well.
Yes, absolutely. A bit of love for Kate Thompson and telling the New South Wales Rugby Union to go jam it. The B&B boys will be doing the commentary. So good on you, Kate.
Thanks, Kate. Mate, my one is for Lenny. Yeah, amazing referee who does so much with our game and for Central Coast Rugby, and we've highlighted him a bit before, I suppose from a Central Coast Rugby perspective, but just what he does with the socials. And I have never seen, I mean, when we started this, what is happening right now is kind of what dreams were made out of, in that the promotion that players are getting and the stuff that is going on the socials every single day, even, photos that Nick Friend has taken on the weekend, and then you got Lenny that's putting him up on the socials, and the comments there and the conversations that they are sparking is highlighting those players, and that is what is awesome about what he is doing. And not only from a referee's perspective, does awesome work on the field. Absolutely smoked Brad O'Hara in a touchies race with the race
surprisingly fast, isn't he?
Very fast for a big fella. I didn't back him in. I thought Brad might have had him. I thought Brad's been doing a bit of touchy work for a few years in the coast. He knows his way around these fields, and Lenny just smoked him all day. Whipped him from doesn't matter which upright they were running from. Beat him back to halfway every time. But yeah, mate, he does amazing stuff. He even offered to come up and pronounce the Islander names for us, which is also greatly appreciated.
I don't need his help, mate. I've got to cover things.
Well, that's what we had to say. So look, we understand. We understand you want to help out, but we've got it from here.
Actually, you know what we should do.
What?
And it's awesome. We appreciate the support and help. A little bit offended by the fact insinuating that we can't pronounce the Islander names very well. Actually, why don't we extend an offer out to Marshall to phonetically spell every name leading up into the semi-finals, so we might be in a bit better shape.
Oh, please, Marshall, please write in. He is my next bit of love. Are you right if I just go straight on to Marshall?
Go for it. Just, mate, anytime I can listen to you give love to Marshall, it's a good day. So you go for it, pal.
First of all, amazing human of the Central Coast. Not the result he won on the weekend, but despite the pressure that's on him and, how much he wants to get, his club and everything over the line, he still found time to sort of to send some stuff into us, and the phonetic spelling he sent into his team is fucking gorgeous. And in saying that, it actually saved us a lot, because I have never, ever heard Barthy pronounce some of these players. Even Apelli Vure. He was Veru before Marshall got a hold of him. So, and the one that didn't change though is Enlazark. It was still Alan Zark the whole time, and I had to back you up on that.
No, mate, I was across it surely.
The one that I loved though is when he broke down Wilson for you, and so Paul Wilson became Paul Wilson for the whole game. That was the best one. But thank you very much, Marshall. That was great banter, and a great guy. Obviously, with what he's done with the Lakes over the last few years, for them to be a real threat each year, and it's been an incredibly tough year. And with him at the helm there. I think having someone like that is really important around that club. I think it's, you look to your leaders when they've had such a season that they've had, and he's one of those guys that's been outstanding for us and that whole Homopo family. So thanks very much, Marshall. Would love it if you can send in a couple of other things, because there might be a couple of tricky ones that come up that we just can't get our lips around. So would appreciate that. Is that love, or is there another one to love? That might be love.
I think that's a fair bit of love. It is, isn't it?
All right. I'm going to play.
It's a good lot of love.
It was a good lot of love. I'm going to play the rest of the song. You can't hear a thing, but the listeners will be able to listen to it.
No. I can imagine it, though. Just go for it. Those of you at home, just imagine me bopping out with this.
Seems to me like it's not enough.
All right, well, that'll do us, Barthy. One person that we didn't give love to or didn't give a shout-out to, and hence all our sponsorship money could be pulled because of this moment, Gus and the team at Erina Podiatry. What a man. Tell me about him, Barthy. Tell me a bit of a story about Gus. Tell listeners a story.
Well, Gus is a quite an intelligent human being, and as we've alluded to several times throughout the year, he's actually just completed his last exam, and he is now a fully qualified cobbler. And for those of you who don't know what a cobbler is, Adam Sandler did a movie, a documentary, if you will, called The Cobbler. So, it's based on real life, and many say it's been rumoured to be based on the life of Gus from Erina Podiatry. So do yourselves a favour. You want to know a little bit more about our sponsors, get onto Netflix or one of the streaming services, look up an Adam Sandler movie called The Cobbler, and that's what Gussie is now qualified as. So not only does he have university degrees in podiatry, he has university degrees in cobblership as well. So a big congratulations to Gus and the team from Coastal Cobblers, as we've just unveiled the name right here and now, but formerly known as Erina Podiatry. But feel free to get your cobblership done at where Gus. He's a great man.
We love your work, Gus. Does great work. That was beautiful. Poetic. Mate, this week, huge games this weekend. Warwee Oval. We'll be there from about 1 o'clock, commentating the women's games, the two Premier 1 games. Be an awesome weekend of rugby. The finals, the atmosphere, everything that's around there at the moment is absolutely awesome. So if you are heading down, make sure you put some money over the bar. Help out the clubs that are obviously running the bars, running the canteens. Hand as much money over as you possibly can. So if you want to eat some food that day, make sure you eat there. Beautiful sausage sandwich, steak sandwiches being served up. Anything you want, they have.
Yeah.
And we'll be up there. You'll see the B&B studio sign up one of the top rooms anyway. We've got our own suite up there, which we've requested.
Yeah.
Part of the rider.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do this week, though, Berner. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm going to bring some no-dos. I give them to Larry, and so we can get the scoreboard clock underway. We had some scoreboard clock issues, if you remember. Larry had fallen asleep.
I do remember that.
Those of you who are watching and listening to our commentary through Clutch TV, poor old Larry had fallen asleep at the helm, so we might bring a few no-dos up, pop some into his lemon tea whilst he's doing the scoreboard, if you will.
He might need that. We did look next door during the game, and Larry was there tucked up in a blanket in the corner of the room, so having a bit of a snooze. It's a big day for him, though, long day. So
it is.
Can't blame him, but he's got to stay awake. That's what he's there. It's what he's paid the big bucks for.
Well, can't blame him, but we just have. So Larry, be better and do better next time.
All right, I think that'll do us. Hopefully the white ant inspection is done. Hopefully they haven't found any, but we'll keep you guys updated for next week. That'll do us. See ya.